Welcome to About the Winelands. In this show, we will be chatting to influencers and leaders in the wine industry, winemakers, restaurants, and other businesses. Tune in every Wednesday and Friday for our latest episodes. You will find us on YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcast, and Apple Podcast. Be sure to subscribe so that you do not miss out. Make sure you never miss our chat here on About the Winelands. Find the sign up link in the description. Now, let's get on with the show. Good day. Today we're talking to Spencer Fondaumiere from Warwick Estate. Spencer is been in the wine industry for many years, and I'm glad to talk to him. Welcome, Spencer.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Will. Glad to be here.
Spencer, please tell us a little bit about yourself, your personal background, and how you became involved with the wine industry.
Cool. Well, first, I don't think it's a particularly long time. I've been involved in the wine industry since I moved to South Africa, so about this is 8 years now. More indirectly than directly because I worked in hospitality first. So I run a few restaurants in Cape Town. Well, started as one, and then we expanded to three, and I became the operations manager for the three restaurants. And within that space, I got involved in the sommelier industry, and did my qualifications and got basically climbed that ladder, and that opened a few more doors for me. So then worked as a joined the Sommeliers Association, climbed that ladder as well, and now I'm the vice chair of the South African Sommeliers Association.
That's awesome.
And yeah, and it's well, yeah, it's cool. It's a cool thing. It's yeah, we have a really cool mandate. We are trying our best to increase education and knowledge of people of wine in South Africa, create a larger drinking base, which would be better for the industry as a whole, both the hospitality industry and the wine industry. And then after 4.5 years working in restaurants, I made the switch over and joined Warwick. And now, yeah, that's the slightly different, not slightly, actually, completely different part of the industry. Which has been really interesting because you see the industry from two completely different sides, and that's been really eye-opening and very cool in that
I'm
way.
just thinking of something you mentioned, expanding your drinking base. Have you found that with the growth in your middle class in South Africa, that the drinking base is actually expanding, or what is what are your challenges there?
I mean, purely numerically, yes, there are more people drinking wine. I think the Savas data will tell you that. But we think the bigger thing the bigger numbers to look at is what other things people drink. And wine lags far behind beer and cider, spirits as well, and that's now marking to the general population of South Africa. So if we could get our numbers anywhere close to, got more people drinking wine, as many people drinking wine as they drank beer, then the industry would look completely different.
Oh yeah, I would believe that.
Oh yeah, no, in a huge way. I mean, we'd be producing more wine. We'd be treating the land a lot better. We would be expanding vineyards rather than contracting them, and totally. I mean, and the buying power would be so much better. And I think, I mean, there's a lot been written and a lot been said about the prices of grapes, and the prices of South African wine in general. So increasing that drinking base will go a long way towards changing that. A lot of it comes down to just education. I think wine can be.
Well, the winelands in itself, and your wine tours and all of that is a major education base. But my question further, I'm just thinking about it. Your millennials are a different breed. What's happening? Are millennials drinking wine?
Difficult to answer on behalf of millennials all over the world, but I think there's certainly an interest, and even like if you just spend a day at the estate and you see the average age of the people coming through, yeah, definitely younger people drinking wine. If you look on social media, a lot of young people drinking wine, and drinking wine for different reasons, So I think there's a generation of us who are really wine snobby and into wine and into the type of glassware that we use and the varietals and the history and the soils and all that. But I think there's a new generation of drinker who just drink because it's nice. They drink because they like the taste of it, and that's the motivation people have to drink things like beer. They drink it because they like the taste of it, and then the heritage stuff and the glamour stuff comes a bit later. But no one started drinking 30, 40-year-old Scotch whiskey. It didn't start there. People started with one drink, another drink, and as they got to know it, they were like, "Cool, this is awesome." And then I want to drink something better, and I want to drink something with a bit more history and a little bit more prestige and all that. And I think we kind of missed that a little bit with wine, in that the opening standard, the bar to start is set so high, and the snob appeal and the snob effect is so great that a lot of people just don't get into it.
That's true.
And yeah, so this new age of drinker, these younger people who just want to drink something because it's nice. I mean, if they go to a wine farm, they end up sitting down and being told stories of soils and stories of terroir and things like that, and it's all cool. I mean, it's great. It's great to have the stories, but that's not really what a lot of people want to know. And I think we miss a trick somewhat in that way.
Oh, interesting. Spencer, you are one of only 500 individuals who passed the prestigious international wine exam. Can you tell us a bit more?
Yeah, it's not actually a wine exam as such. It's the ASI diploma, which is the sort of highest qualification you can have as a sommelier in Europe.
Okay.
Not to be confused with the Court of Master Sommeliers, which is a completely different entity. That's a little bit more Anglo. So both it's quite big in the UK and in America, whereas the ASI is a little bit bigger in the traditional wine producing countries, France, Italy, Spain. And it's been going around. It's been going on for quite a while. It's almost, I think, he started in the 50s, if I'm not mistaken. And the barriers to entry are quite difficult in that up until last year, the only way you could do the exam was you had to do it in a second language, which is quite intense. So if you're English speaking, you need to do the exam in French. If you're French speaking, in German, which is cool. I mean, from a
That's
European setting, a lot
interesting.
of people. Yeah, no, it's intense. It's crazy.
So,
I mean, if
so
in a
did you do it
European
in
setting,
French?
that makes sense.
Or what?
No, goodness, no. So I was a beneficiary of the relaxed regulations in that you are allowed now to do it in your home language. So I did it in English. But the one thing, so they have 3 levels. You can get a gold, silver, or bronze pass. So I actually qualified for silver pass, but then you can only get a bronze award because you did it in your home language. So that's pretty much it. So just the difficulty is what sets it apart. So I so few people have passed it. It's an intense exam, man. It took about 6 hours
Wow.
to do, and it has seven. I think it's 7 different components to the exam.
Does it
So
have a practical
it's
component as well?
pretty intense.
Uh, Spencer?
Yeah, several practical components.
Oh,
So the actual so there's yeah. Sorry, I think we got a bit of a dodgy connection there. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yes, sorry.
Okay, cool. Yeah. No, that's fine. So so there's a theory component which is pretty long. I think it's about 150 questions about wine from all over the world, if I remember correctly. Then there's an essay, which is quite nice, because the essay is it's a real life sort of you basically do a dissertation on a particular angle of the industry, depending on what the question is. The one I had was quite interesting. The question was about the non-drinking culture right now and how it is becoming more and more fashionable not to drink or to drink less, and what that means for the industry as sommeliers. So, I think you get about an hour to write something about that, and then the rest is all practical. So there's a tasting component, blind tasting component. There's a role play component. There's a food and wine, active food and wine pairing, and then there's a practical task.
wow, amazing. So, Spencer,
Yeah,
currently you're the brand manager at Warwick Estate. Can you tell us a bit of, Warwick has an interesting history. Can you tell us a bit more?
yeah, I could actually. I could spend the rest of this hour telling you about that. So yes, a very very cool history. It's quite cool to be working for a property like Warwick. We've been around since, in production terms, since the mid '80s. We made our first vintage. First vintage went out in 1985, and have made a vintage of wine ever since then. So that's pretty cool. And we are now the single biggest estate in Stellenbosch with the acquisition of 8K.
Wow.
And we have some incredible ambition. As the estate, we want to become a significant wine producer internationally. In that, the reputation of South African wines is both really good and really bad, internationally. And I mean, that's for really bad for historical reasons, but really good as well in that we're making some really cool stuff
Mhm.
that that is as good as anything in the world. I think the Canon Paul Sour really changed the world, changed the world's perception of that. However, a lot of the wines we make are not in significant enough volume to really shake the world. So
Mhm.
it's amazing stuff, but it's just not it's not big enough that the whole world will get to taste. And that becomes a huge problem because it becomes cult wine rather than iconic wine.
Mhm.
And I think there's a difference there because there's a lot of cult wine around the world. It's not difficult, it's not impossible to make one or two barrels of something that's incredible, but it's a lot difficult to make massive production of something that's completely incredible. Um, and that's where we sort of fall short. We fall short because we don't produce enough. In any single estate in South Africa, no one's producing mass producing wines in volumes of 100 to 200,000, 400,000 bottles of that superior world class quality. And that's what we're going to try and do. Well, that's our vision as well. That's what we want to try and get to, and model ourselves sort of like the Penfolds in Australia,
Mhm.
um, and have wines in different ranges and have incredible um, an incredible reputation in those ranges as well. And we're very much on the way to doing that. Like, um, from a consumer perspective, with our First Lady range, the whole ethos behind the First Lady range, the name the First Lady pays tribute to Norma Ratcliffe, who was the founder and our first winemaker, one of the first female winemakers in South Africa. So the First Lady range pays homage to that. And the idea, or that's what a lot of people say, but we really believe in it, that every bottle of wine we make, every wine we make the best wine we can make in that range, in that price range. And so when we're making our sort of higher tier exclusive stuff, we will spare no expense. We'll pick the best sites. We will make the wine as best we can. But also when we're making the wines in the First Lady range, we know obviously you can't be the dream, but no one can drink wines that cost 300 rand plus every single night. But we wanted to make Warwick accessible to everyone. And so we created this range of wines, but we still put the same ethos and focus into making them. And in so doing, you know, no stone is left unturned. We do the best we can to make it, and that even if at that lower price point, it's still going to be the best wine. And we've encountered a lot of success with that, and people vote with their feet with that. In that we have the best selling Cabernet in that sort of premium range, which is sort of between 80 to 150 rand a bottle. We've got the best selling Chardonnay in that range. We've got the fastest growing Sauvignon Blanc in that range, which is the most competitive um, um, market for wines in South Africa at the moment. And our rosé as well is the best-selling rosé. So within the First Lady range, we are right up there. The consumers love the wine. We are making a wine that people love. And then with our premium stuff, we have consistently done very well on the award circuit, which both internationally and locally. And 2015 is pretty well. 2015 vintage, last year's awards were quite a highlight for us. We got the best producer at the Trophy Wine Show, and I think we got 4
Oh,
5-star platinum in our range of wines. So definitely, definitely doing something right with that. So well on our way to producing that on an even larger scale with the new infrastructure that we now have.
oh, that's interesting. So yeah, you're looking at expansion, which is unbelievable, and a great vision
Yes.
to a great
Yeah.
vision to have.
No, totally. And actually, just to that point, and sorry to interrupt you, but also just to that point, we are embarking on one of the biggest replantings that's happened in South African wine for the
Oh,
last,
really?
probably in the last 5 years. Yeah, absolutely. We are replanting a significant amount of new vineyard over the next 5 years, focusing particularly on Cabernet Franc, which has been an important wine for us at the estate. We were the very first estate to bottle a straight Cabernet Franc in South Africa,
Mhm.
and we've had a hell of a lot of success with our Cabernet Franc since then. And it's only made sense now that we've based our entire production around it. So our flagship wine, the trilogy from 2015, is now Cabernet Franc based, and we want to increase the volume of our straight Cabernet Franc as well. And it will also play a part in our second tier Bordeaux blend as well.
Oh, that's very interesting. Spencer, something different. The
Mm.
Warwick Wedding Cup. There's a story around that as well. What is this?
Yeah, it's a cool story. It's a very cool story. It's the story of it's a love story actually, which is always nice. It endears itself to a lot of people. It's the story of Princess Kunigunda, and the myth goes that she was she was the favorite daughter of the king at the time, and he loved her dearly, but she fell in love with a commoner, and he was an average a blacksmith, and Father King forbade her to continue their relationship because she was royalty, and he had greater things planned for her. But she loved him dearly, and she refused to listen to him. So she went on hunger strike and refused to eat completely, locked herself in a room, and never came out. And the king, above all else, as much as he wanted greater things for his daughter, he loved his daughter dearly, and he wanted her to live. So he ended up compromising, and Goldrose went over to her dungeon where she had locked herself and said, "Listen, what are we going to do? We got to make this work. I can't have you dying." So she's like, "Listen, I'm not compromising. I really love this man, and I want to marry him." So the king caught up in the corner said, "Oh dear, okay, well, I'm going to have to. If you're going to marry him, then I want to make sure that he is worthy of your hand, for he is not of royal lineage." And so he called the blacksmith to the palace, and he said, "Listen, my daughter is smitten with you, and I can't understand why, but you are a blacksmith and a talented one at that, I believe. So I'm going to set you a challenge, and if you can fulfill this challenge, then you can have my daughter's hand in marriage." So the blacksmith loved the daughter as much as he loved him, and he said, "Well, I'll do anything. Tell me what the challenge is, and I'll make it work." So the king told blacksmith, "I want you to create a cup that two people can drink from at the same time without anything spilling. And if you can do that, then you will prove yourself intelligent enough and worthy enough for my daughter's hand in marriage." So the blacksmith went away and he created the wedding cup. The wedding cup is actually that's the logo that you have on any bottle of our Warwick wines, um, and it's actually it's a chalice, so it's a cup,
Hmm.
but it's shaped like a lady, and lady carrying a like a pot on the top of her head, and she's wearing a long skirt. So the pot rotates on an axis. So basically, when you hold it up, it will rotate with you. So you can literally drink from the bottom of the cup, which is the lady's skirt. Doing my best to describe it. It's actually a lot easier when you have the visual. But yeah, basically, so if you turn it to the side, you can put the wine in the cup, and then because of the rotating axis at the top, the little top of the cup will swing, and there you'll have it. So you can actually drink from it at the same time. So he took the cup back to the king, and the king was incredibly impressed. So he allowed his daughter to marry the blacksmith, and the rest was history. But the cup is actually known as the wedding cup or the marriage cup, and is being used in that tradition for a very long time. And we have it at the estate. You can actually buy it. So sales
Wow.
pitch for you over here. It's for sale at the estate for just under 3,000 rand. It's made of pure silver, so quite a cool wedding gift. And a lot of people have enjoyed that tradition at the estate. You have lots of people come back, and lots of people tell us on social media that they,
What a
"Oh man, we remember coming
what a
for
cool
our
story.
anniversary, and we did the cup." Yeah, no, it's lovely. It is lovely, and I think people. I mean, and as much as the wine sells itself, and it's really good quality wine and stuff, it's always nice to have a few stories. People enjoy hearing stories, and it's nice to attach a meaning to something other than it just being a bottle of wine.
Excellent. Just a quick interruption. But I do need to remind you that we are currently in a very difficult time. The South African government has set up a fund where businesses and individuals can donate to support our country through this crisis. Go to the website now and add your small donation: www.solidarityfund.co.za. Please join us all in the fight against COVID-19. That is at www.solidarityfund.co.za. Now, let's get on with the show. Talking about weddings, I assume that Warwick is a favorite of wedding planners and wedding events.
Not in the way you'd think, actually. So we have an incredible hospitality division where we do gourmet picnics. We were once again one of the first. Actually, we were the first farm to pioneer the idea of a gourmet picnic, which was a little bit of a play on restaurant. I think where a lot of other estates are blessed with fantastic facilities to have great restaurants. We're not so lucky at Warwick, so we used what we had and we recreated something out of nothing, and used the beautiful landscape that we had and created the picnic space. And with the gourmet picnics you get a really nice selection of pretty much three courses, laid out really nicely in an easy to eat kind of way, laid out in a blanket, and you can sort of while away, enjoy the day on the lawns, watch the watch the lake or the dam, and enjoy the food. And then on the flip side to that, we also have a little bit more private. We've created these little pods where if you're in a bit more of a private setting, you can do the same thing.
Wow.
And it's turned out to be incredibly popular. We've been doing it for, geez, I think about almost 10 years now. And like, geez, from November to February, it's completely chocker. People, we have bookings going. We close up at some point, then you get a waiting list going for days for people to get through over that time of the year. But we don't have as much space as some other estates in Stellenbosch, and so we don't really offer too much as far as a wedding venue is concerned.
Okay.
We have done some smaller weddings, like to about, I think about 200 odd people in a bit of a private space. We have a smaller private space that can accommodate that, but yeah, not can't do the massive big 500 to 1,000 people weddings that you
But,
sometimes get.
but at least they can come buy the wedding cup, right? And the wine for the wedding.
Oh no, absolutely, yes, indeed, yes, indeed.
So, Club Warwick, I saw this on your website. Can you tell us a bit more about
Yeah,
this and the benefits?
absolutely. Oh no, I'm 100%. I'm very excited to tell you about that. It's the newest project that we're working on at Warwick, and something that I'm pretty close to. Something I've been working on in a personal capacity for a long time. So here it comes again. We were one of the first estates to have a wine club in 2006. And over the time, we peaked at 1,500 members, which is really, really cool.
Wow.
But we found that wine clubs have gotten a little bit stale, and we've done a lot of research even internationally. And a lot of what a wine club offers its members is exclusivity. So you get your sort of first dibs at a new release wines, and you get good prices on older wines, and favorable favorable buying terms. And that's pretty much the play that most people have, and that's worked in that way. And it does get pretty jaded. I mean, if you're a member of 10 different clubs, it's pretty much the same offer, just in a different
Mm.
guise. So we set out trying to do something incredibly exciting and different, and really plug into who we see as the average Warwick wine drinker, and how we see our brand. We position it as a lifestyle brand, and that people who drink Warwick enjoy the outdoors, enjoy trying new things, and work well with other brands. And so we've done a lot of different campaigns in our marketing with other brands, working hand in hand with that, because it's not just about the wine. It's about, do you enjoy your wine while out hiking? Or we did a really cool campaign at the end of last year with summer, and we came together with 4 or 5 other South African brands and put a summer package together. We could then really highlighting the things that we feel South Africans love to do during summer, especially Cape Townians. So we focused it on beach. So we did some swimwear, sunglasses, sunscreen, and of course the wine. And that's the sort of stuff that people will do. So it then becomes part of a better story. We're not just telling you, hey, drink our wine because it's a hot sunny day and it'll quench your thirst thing. This is a lifestyle thing. What you enjoy doing over summer, you can lump our wine into that, and it becomes a total package. And that's how we really see the positioning of our brand. So as I alluded to earlier, and I said, like, we see that the average wine drinker, or the new age wine drinker, isn't too fussed as much about the heritage of the wine and the unpronounceable French names, and the real detail about the type of soil that we use, and all of that. Um, don't get me wrong. I mean, that's obviously incredibly important, and there's a whole other type of wine drinker out there who's really interested in that, and we cater to that as well. But really influencing a whole other generation of drinker is about really fitting the wine into part of their lifestyle, and that's what we've done with Club Warwick. We've basically created a lifestyle club around that. And so the actual package is, you get a curated selection of wines, which I put together every 2 months, curated selection of our wines. And you get 9 of them for 999 Rand delivered to your doorstep. But alongside that, you get access to a bunch of very cool partner offers with other brands that we've worked with. So we've got You Cook, Travel Start, the Cotton Company. It's actually quite a number. I probably have to run them off. But if you go on the website, you can see them. You click on that, you can see who the partners are. Sorry, if I'm going to get in trouble for not naming all of them. Sweep South is a partner currently, and I think I got them all. Um, and every 2 months, or with every edition, we will add some extra partners as well. So then, basically, as a Club Warwick partner, as a Club Warwick member, you get access to discounts on all these other brands as well, and you get access to products from all these other brands as well, which is really cool because they're products that fit your lifestyle as well. So if you're the sort of person who would enjoy a UCook package, if someone who travels, you'd enjoy a discount with Travel Dot. Someone who's up on the mountain on the go, you'd enjoy using Sweep South services, and all that. So obviously you get, and then you get your 9 wines every month, every 2 months as well. So that's the whole idea behind the club, which is pretty cool. And then we've also created a lot of really interesting content on it. So if you actually click on the Club Warwick page, it's like really cool stuff about what's hip and what's happening, some interesting stories, stories about lifestyle stuff, stories about wine, things like that. So it's really a full, all-encompassing membership. It's like becoming a member of a club rather than it being just a question of, hey, here's a discount and here's some free wine.
Well,
So
that's an amazing story. I think, the future of marketing is collaborating with other lifestyle brands in especially for wine.
100%.
So that is very, very cool. And I think this is unique. I haven't seen it anywhere else, but I can be corrected. But yeah,
no, I think
what a great idea.
We are pioneering with this, and I think it's a really cool idea. And we hope. It's unfortunate that its launch coincided with the lockdown period, and that happened, and obviously the COVID-19 and the stories that are being the more pertinent stories are right now about survival and life in this new normal, and staying safe and flattening the curve. Yeah, and I mean, it's obviously that's cool. That needs to be what's discussed at length. But hopefully, in the not too distant future, we can get past that, and yeah, we can really explore the magnitude of how big or how cool this club can become.
So Warwick wines are international as well. I see you've got international distributors.
Yes, indeed.
Could you tell us a bit more about that?
Yes, indeed. So interestingly, we aren't as big an estate as a lot of people would imagine. I think perception of a lot of bigger South African farms is that, or wine labels, is that they export a lot more than they produce locally. So you magnify what your local footprint is and expand that twofold, threefold, tenfold with what you export. We are actually quite opposite in that model, in that most of our wines are consumed in South Africa, which is pretty awesome. And that goes back to what I was saying before, that inward facing, creating a greater wine drinking culture within South Africa, increasing the base of wine drinkers, and trying to sell more wine domestically. South Africa is the only wine producing country, major wine producing country, that exports more wine than it consumes domestically.
Wow.
And if you've been privileged enough to travel and you go off to Europe and you spend time in the little villages in France and Italy and Spain, you will find that in those little villages, people drink the wine from the region and they support the wine from the region. And what gets exported is really the big commercial stuff, the big name stuff. But the real fantastic little gems um, are all locally produced and are all locally enjoyed, with no fuss and no frills, no Riedel glasses, no crystal glasses, no decantation and things like that. It's just people, salt of the earth people, living their lives, enjoying, drinking the wine and enjoying their culture. And that's something if we can replicate, and we kind of do to a point with our first 80 range of wines, in that we've got a lot of South African South African people in South African wine. So our exports are not the base of our production at the moment. But we are increasing it, obviously, with the greater volume that we have and the limited drinking base in South Africa. So we are looking at growing that. At the moment, it's almost about 70-30. 70% drunk of our production consumed locally, 30% exported. And I imagine that number is going to change over time as the production increases. Our biggest markets is currently is the UK, and a little bit in Asia, a fair market in America that's also growing, and then of course the rest of Europe.
Awesome. Spencer, you mentioned the coronavirus, and of course, this has now forced or are forcing everyone to rethink their business models. Do you have any changes or new ideas in mind? And what are you doing about this whole thing?
Yeah, it's changed life as we know it completely. And I think particularly for us in the wine industry, because we cannot sell, I mean, a single thing. I mean, up until yesterday, at least with the lifting of the export ban, which is really cool, because now at least we can get some fuel back into the engine and start turning the wheels again. But yeah, the impact is incredibly massive, and it changes everything. And one of the big campaigns we do at Warwick is Mother's Day. It's this we the single biggest event that we really put a lot of resource towards, and that's completely shifted that ground for us. In that it's unlikely, considering Mother's Day is the 10th of May, it's unlikely we may still even be in lockdown when that comes around. So it's forced us to rethink a lot of things, and digitize a lot of our strategy going on in that way. As I was telling a little bit before we started the conversation off air, was basically we don't know, because we don't know when you're going to be able to sell wine again. So it's very difficult. It'd be very different if you had a definite end in mind and say, okay, cool, once the 21st hits, we're going to hit that campaign. So we're working on a lot of things. We've got some really cool ideas going for when the ban is lifted. And in the interim, we are trying to stay as relevant as possible in a very congested online space at the moment. It's such a narrow channel, and a lot of brands are trying to capture the attention of people right now. So we're going about that in our own way, trying to be as creative as possible and as clever as possible, and continue to tell the cool stories that we do around the brand. We are still pushing the Club Warwick aspect, which is really cool in itself. And we are completely relooking at doing the Mother's Day campaign, but in a more digital space. So yeah, I think that's that. And we're trying to be as adaptable as possible, and I think that's what you need to be more than anything else. You can't stay married to an idea. You can't stay fixed to a certain way of thinking in this time, because you're just going to be swallowed up and gobbled up and spat out again. So we're trying to be as dynamic as possible, and work whatever channel opens up first, and trying to find the way to maximize that as much as possible. If the directive is changed and they say, okay, cool, you can have wine delivered, then we'll work an angle that we've got some scenarios planned, and campaigns thought out around that being the channel that we can use. If they say you can only sell over certain hours, we've got a campaign planned and some strategy around that. So it's all about really just trying to be as dynamic as possible.
So you
They say,
spend
okay,
it.
guys, gloves off, let's go.
So you're spending your time
Mhm.
planning at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of spinning wheels, a lot of spinning wheels, a lot of consultation, a lot of Zoom meetings, a lot of time spent in front of a screen and that sort of
So
thing.
I read somewhere
But
that,
yeah.
some study that wine makes you more creative. So I certainly recommend that you do some of your own wine while you are thinking about all the stuff.
No, I'll take that completely to heart. I will say I've been in the fortunate position working for a winery during lockdown is there is no shortage of wine, which is really cool. So
That's great.
yeah.
So Spencer, yourself, what is the most important thing that you have learned from your wine journey?
It's a question I'm asked very often in different ways, but I like to answer it in that my wine story is a particularly interesting one, and that growing up in Kenya, wine wasn't a massive part of culture for us. I was fortunate that my mom and dad drank wine often, and it was always it was always there in my household growing up, and so it wasn't completely alien to me. But I can imagine in the nineties sort of early 2000s in Kenya, the wine that we had access to in Kenya was not always the best. In fact, but box wine was quite a treat. Like it was when my dad used to make my mom upset, he'd buy her a 5 liter cask, and that was the best thing ever. So I had a relationship with wine, but from a completely different way. Then I left my girlfriend, who now my wife, and she moved down to South Africa first. And I came to visit her for the first time. Was my first experience ever actually going to a wine estate and tasting wine. And the first wine I ever tasted, but properly, was a Gewürztraminer, which was really cool for an introduction wine for anyone because, well, first of all, it's generally sweet, but second of all, it has such distinct flavor characteristics. So you're not searching for, it's not vague like if you drink a cab and you're like, what on earth is cassis and how can you taste black pepper? And I think that comes with a bit more refinement, but um, uh, having done that and taken through that way, I was like, oh my goodness, this is a whole new world. This was exciting. I remember getting back in the car and telling my wife, "You're going to tell me everything you know about wine. I can't wait to taste another one. I can't wait to learn more." And I think that's the most important thing for me, for anyone going on a wine journey. It's really about finding the enjoyment of what's in your glass. Never mind the stories, never mind the pretense, never mind the price tag. It's really just finding it, identifying with it, and enjoying it. And once you start, then the ball just rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls. And a lot of people I know who enjoy wine have similar stories. You know, it just started with one, and then you got to the other, and as you got to uncover it, and you learn the differences between this and the other, and it is truly an amazing thing. And I think wine's probably the only thing in the world that you can drink that'll taste different every time you drink it. And that's quite incredible. You know, if you can drink a super expensive Scotch whiskey that's 25 years old, 30 years old, whatever it is, or a really fine cognac, but it'll never have, from vintage bottle to bottle, it'll always be the same. But wine is a few things that every single vintage will taste completely different, and that'll tell you a completely different story. And and I think that's just such an exciting thing to think about. You can have six wines made by the same person from the same patch of land. Open them every day for a different day of the week, and it'll taste different, and it'll give you a completely different story. It'll give you a whole different idea, and that's just the most amazing thing about it. And you can never get tired of drinking wine.
That's for sure. Spencer, you obviously love your wine and have a passion for this. So my last question to you is, what is your favorite wine quote?
Quote.
Yeah,
Wow, good question. I gotta be honest, I don't actually know too many other people's quotes
well,
off the top of my head.
you can always give us your own one.
Well, I'll tell you what. This is actually I've heard this one before, said in different ways, but I think it goes something like, "Your favorite wine is the wine that you're enjoying in your glass right now." Um, and I've always thought that that's pretty profound and that's pretty cool because as a wine enthusiast, you spend a lot of time tasting different wines, with a different hat on. I'm fortunate enough to have been on different panels for judging different wines and things like that. And you end up, sometimes you're lucky, you find yourself buying a cult wine, or you find yourself in possession or ownership of it, and you have all this anticipation. You're like, oh my god, I finally got a bottle. You open it up and expecting the world to change with the first sip, and you find, oh my goodness, it's actually pretty average, or it's not as what I expected it to be. Oh my goodness, it's corked or it's oxidized, and you can end up wasting your life in that way, saving yourself to taste something that's built up to be amazing and turns out not to be. And then another day you open your bog standard Sauvignon Blanc on a super hot sunny day, your family's around you. We've just got some really good news. You sip it and it tastes like the most amazing thing that you've ever tasted in your entire life. And then you open it and you open a second bottle the next day and it's nothing like that. And I think it really goes down to say what's in your glass, what you're enjoying, that moment in your life. That's the best wine you ever tasted, for that moment.
Spencer, it's awesome talking to you, and I greatly appreciate your time. As a final
Thanks,
thing,
Will.
would
Thank you very
you,
much.
if people want to get a hold of Warwick and want more information, where should they go?
Oh well, fortunately we are everywhere, so we are pretty active on Facebook.
Okay,
So you can just find our page on Facebook, and actually all social media channels. We're pretty active on all of them.
okay.
And then you can directly inquire from our website if you have any questions. You can just go on warwickwine.com. And of course, if you're in Stellenbosch, you can always visit us at the estate. We are open 365 days a year. We have an incredible team at the estate, really, really welcoming. We work really hard at making sure everyone feels the welcome and feels the love when they come there. So at any time, if you're in the area, please come through. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. And if most of all, you can always just pick up the phone and call as well.
Excellent. We'll put all the links and everything down in the description of this recording. But Spencer,
Fantastic.
thanks again, and I'd love to talk to you again in future. But thanks for your time today.
Amazing, well. Thank you very much, mate. And thank you for the opportunity. It's been really cool chatting.
Thank you for supporting our show. If you would like to get more exposure for your business, please have a look at our sponsorship options. Thanks again for supporting About the Winelands. Please follow us on YouTube and on our social media channels. All details and links are in the description.